Welcome to our first webinar of the year and welcome to 2026. It's going to be a really exciting year, I think. So today we are talking about how guests start dreaming about your tours before they even ever book. This is part of a bigger webinar series that we're going to be hosting, so stay tuned every month. We're going to be having an exciting webinar. This is part one, and basically we're breaking down the Resmark growth engine into 5 parts, and Greg's going to touch a little bit about what that Resmark growth engine is. If you weren't able to make our November webinar where we gave a broad overview of it, but we're really excited about it. Today is stage 1, the dreaming stage, which is like my favorite stage. Everybody, I saw a few people who registered and I recognized the emails. So thank you for continuing to come back to our webinars. But if you're new here, just a little bit about us. Our mission is to help tour operators grow more profitable businesses while delivering better guest experiences and peace of mind. Now, if you're a client of ours, you utilize our booking software, our marketing services, our digital waivers, you know that's what we do. That is our goal. We want you to be successful. But even if you're not a client of ours, we hope that we could still do that through webinars and ongoing resources, blogs, and whatnot. So that is why we do what we do. And I'm Nikki. If you don't know, I am the marketing director here at Resmark. So I handle all of our internal marketing efforts, our social media, our email, our SEO, our paid ads, the whole shebang for Resmark, Resmark Web, and WaiverSign. But I have a team of people that help me do that. If I had to do that all alone, that would be like insane. And Greg is actually my manager, and Greg's official title is the Senior Sales and Marketing Manager. And if you don't know, Greg actually has a really extensive design background, which is really cool because obviously we create websites for tour operators. So Greg has a huge hand in the success of our clients' websites. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Greg to really kick things off and give us that broad overview of what that growth engine is if you didn't make it to our November webinar.
Thanks, Nikki. Hey, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Excited to go through this webinar today and talk about the dreaming stage and also the Resmark growth engine. So first, I want to start off with what is the Resmark growth engine, just in case you don't know. This is a framework that we put together to help maximize your business's success. So there's a bunch of little things in each of these stages that you can do as a business to help improve and better deliver for your customers. So in the Resmark growth engine, there's 5 stages. We have dreaming, planning, booking, experiencing, and sharing. And once someone's kind of in this cycle, they can just kind of go through it over and over and over. But we're going to start kind of with dreaming as if we just came into the dreaming stage for the first time. So what is the dreaming stage? This is really where the potential guest, is researching what they're going to do on their trip, what type of trip they want to do. And it might be the first time that they're finding your brand or even finding like a certain type of tour activity that's out there that they didn't even know existed. So in my mind, there's 2 groups that are in this stage. You have group 1, which is a guest that doesn't know what they want to do. So in this scenario, they might be someone that they don't know where they want to go, what type of activities they want to do. They just know they want to go do something. And then the second is a guest that knows maybe what they want to do. They want to go kayaking or they want to go hiking. They might know a company that they want to go with, or they might have a location already in mind. And so these 2 different groups really define kind of who's in the dreaming stage. And in order to maximize your value as a business in the dreaming stage, I want you to ask yourself these type of questions. So are ideal customers or guests finding you when they are researching trips? Are you visible across search, AI, social, video, word of mouth, other avenues like that? Do you partner and or do partners and resellers help extend your reach? Or are you just kind of partnered with them and nothing's really coming from it? And then are OTAs supporting discovery and not just replacing you as a business, your brand, but are they helping people discover what you have to offer? So with these type of questions, keep in mind that travelers are 3 times more likely to book a tour that they've seen across multiple channels. So they might find, you on a YouTube ad. They might find you through an OTA and book, and then it's your job to really sell them on coming back, right? So the more that they can see you out there, the more likely they are to book. And then AI search, we all know, absolutely huge. It's growing exponentially every year, 527% over last year. So just always remember that that's important. But as AI search takes over more and more, don't forget about Google. Don't forget about your website, because your website is what's going to help drive your visibility in AI search on Google and all these other avenues. So, in order to kind of set the stage here, I want to talk through a personal example here. So, my wife and I, we are celebrating 15 years of marriage this year, and we want to go on a nice trip. And so this time around, we're actually in group one. We have no idea when we started this process of dreaming. We had no idea where we wanted to go, what we wanted to do, or even when. Just sometime this year. And so we started our research phase. A few years ago, we went on a trip to Banff National Park, and we were actually in group one in that case. I dreamed of going to see Moraine Lake, and so we did our entire trip based around that one idea. So I'm going to walk you through just a little bit of kind of how we researched, what our dreaming experience was like in this phase. So this is an awesome AI generated image of just obviously outdated. Who's using books like that? But the idea being, me and my wife were sitting next to each other on the couch as we were researching this. We like to do the research early on together. She generally takes it and goes from there and figures everything else out, the itinerary, because that's what she really loves to do. But as we were kind of going through, we were like, where should we go? We've been to Cancun, we've been to Banff on some anniversary trips. Where do we want to go? We ultimately decided, because we're not the type that wants to go back to the same place. So it's like, I'm not going to go to Cancun again probably for years. So where do we want to go? And we have our budget set. So we started looking at where can we go? We could go to Europe. Is that in our budget? Or if it's not, maybe we go to like Cabo San Lucas or maybe somewhere in the Caribbean still. And so we started looking at airfare and different things like that, right? To just get a general gauge of what's going to fit our budget, because I don't want to spend my whole budget on just getting there. I want to be able to have fun while I'm wherever we're going. And so we ultimately decided, let's look at Europe, and we found some countries we were interested in and started whittling those down. And we've kind of landed on Greece, as long as the airfare doesn't keep going up, because we haven't bought the tickets yet. But once we decided on Greece, now is when we really started figuring out what we wanted to do there. There's obviously a ton of things we could go see. We could go to Athens, we could go to Santorini or a bunch of the other islands. And when I travel, I really like to try to immerse myself at least a little bit into the culture there. My parents recently went to London, and like they went to small towns and like sat at pubs with people and just talked to them just to get to know the locals. So that really hit me on like, how can we experience Greece not just as a tourist, but try to understand the people there a little bit more. And I love Greek food. And so we started talking about doing like either a food tour or cooking classes and started researching what we could do there. And so that's where in our dreaming process, we really started finding brands. And my wife, sitting right next to me, typed in basically the same thing I did, like cooking classes in Greece or cooking classes in Santorini, and she immediately was on TripAdvisor, and she was looking like, oh, there's this, and that. And I'm probably biased because I'm in the tour industry. I know that if I go through TripAdvisor, it costs you all more money, and I'd rather go directly to you and book your trip. So I'm over here like trying to find companies that I can do this with. And unfortunately, they were all pretty like average. I went through probably 5 or 6 different websites, wasn't able to quickly find exactly what I was looking for in pricing or descriptions of what it was. They weren't optimized for like someone that's in the dreaming phase that just is looking for high level details. So I immediately went to AI search and started doing more that way. I tell this story mainly just to illustrate that two people that live together that know each other very well, we search very differently on trips, and that's how everyone in the world is searching your trips. They're all doing it differently. So it's just that much more important to be showing up everywhere that you possibly can and having a consistent brand as you do that. So that if I see something of yours in one place and I come back a couple weeks later, I can remember who you are and, keep my search going. One thing that I think was missing in my experience here is I have not received one retargeting message or ad on social media, on like any other platform. I haven't seen any ads for anything grease related. So that's a really like a spot where everyone's dropping the ball because I went on their website and they could now be targeting me to remind me like, "Hey, we're here." So, just something to think about there. An example of a client that we have that's really doing a great job in the streaming phase is Virgin Islands Eco Tours. So they're showing up in Google search, they're showing up in YouTube, they're showing up in AI overviews and AI search. They're showing up in Google Maps and on social media. They're everywhere. So this is really important to be in as many places you can, but also have good content. Their content isn't just, text. They're showing imagery. They're showing what their brand is and what that experience is going to be like. So that's kind of an overview of dreaming, what we're going to be talking about. There's a bunch of different points that we're going to go through, I believe 7. And the first one is AI and search. And I'll let Nikki talk about this.
Awesome. Before I dive into this, you made me think of something, Greg. I read a stat this morning, literally, and usually we hear this stat. It takes six to 9 touches for somebody to actually choose your tour or your business. But that's if they're already in the funnel. It takes 20 to 30 touches if they have no clue who you are. So when we're in the dreaming phase, most of these people don't have a clue who you are. So it's going to take that many touches to get in front of them. All right, guys, we're going to dive into the first element in the dreaming stage. As Greg mentioned, there's 7 of them. So the first one is AI and search. Are we showing up in ChatGPT, in Perplexity, in Gemini when somebody types in a relative, keyword or inquiry that we wanted to show up for? Are we showing up in Google, more importantly? I say more importantly because, yeah, we do see the growth in volume and traffic that we're getting in ChatGPT and those AI searches, but Google is still king. And I'll be honest with you, if you have a good foundation, if you're doing the right things and Google is ranking you, most likely the AI search engines are going to rank you too. So the first thing you need to do is define your ideal guest. We call this our ICP. So we create your ideal customer profile. You need to know who you want on your tours, who are your most profitable customers, and tailor content to them. Build clear destination and experience pages that show your expertise. So this is where we start adding depth to your website. Very often, a tour operator comes in and they have 5 pages on their website. That is not enough to provide Google or the AI search engines valuable information to scan your website and be able to tell what you do. So we want to provide good information on each location, each tour, each experience that you have. We want to provide very clear information, valuable information, specific FAQs, specific information, specific reviews that are dedicated to that destination. So we want to provide enough depth on your website. We want to publish consistently to stay visible. We want to publish with intent as well. So we don't want to just create blog posts every single week because it's easy, because it's simple to go into ChatGPT and simply copy and paste an output that you got. Remember, you are the experts. We want your tone, your voice to come through. Absolutely use AI to help you write content, but make sure it is very valuable. Add in FAQs that you get, add in video content to those blog posts. And we get the question a lot, how often should I post blogs? And when I say once a week and they say, oh, I don't have the time for that. Well, try twice a week, if not at least once a month. If you're doing anything less than once a month, I would say that's not enough to stay consistent. And also, keep in mind that you don't have to just publish new content all the time. You can go back to your blog posts from last year or the year before and rewrite that in a way that's relevant to 2026.
And if I can interject, you also don't need to do just blog posts, right? Like focus on the main pages of your website as well. Like what are the landing pages people are coming in on? And focus on those, because if they're not optimized, if they're not speaking to your ideal customer, then you're already losing them and they're probably not even seeing the blog post as well.
That's so true. Yeah. Cool. And create content like trip ideas, itineraries, what to bring. I have a short story. So, my dad and I are going on a whitewater rafting trip in a couple months with Western River Expeditions. And I've done quite a few multi-day trips, so I understand. I don't have too many questions that I have good expectations, I think, but my dad does not. My dad, this was a Christmas present. So this kind of came out in the blue. He's not a traveler. He's not an adventurer. Doesn't even like the water. But I figured it's a experience between a father and a daughter that like you can't miss out on. So anyways, I'm taking him and he has so many questions. I call him every Sunday after church and he's like, Nikki, what kind of shoes do I need to get? Nikki, what do I do here? What are they going to feed me? So many questions. And I can say that every question that he's had has been answered in an amazing page on the website or FAQs. Western River has done incredible with their resources. And yes, that's providing a really good user experience to somebody who has a lot of questions, but also just remember that Google sees that. AI sees that as well. So provide as much valuable content. No longer are the days where just keyword stuffing, trying to get as much out as possible. We need to provide really valuable, intentional content. And there's a lot more to it than that when it comes to setting a strong SEO foundation. There's some technical things that we have to be aware of. But when you lay a strong foundation and you're doing it over time consistently, you're going to see your keywords increase. You're going to see volume increase as well. You're going to see quality traffic. You're not going to just see a bunch of nonsense, right? Because we're writing the right content for our ideal customer, and that is what we're showing for. So just keep that in mind. And it's a process. You're not going to see these results over 3 months' time. But when you're patient, when you're doing these other things in place, you're building on that strong foundation time and time. You're going to see a correlation in your revenue. This is one of our clients. And compared to last year, he's up 40% in sales. And that's not just SEO, right? He has some other great marketing efforts going on. We're not doing paid ads for him, but I would say the foundation, the core is SEO. Then we have email marketing and social media, a website built for conversion. All of that sort of thing is in place. But when you lay that on top of a strong SEO foundation, you're going to see a correlation in your revenue increase as well. Number 2, Greg.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki. Google and AI ads. So we're going to mostly talk about Google ads, but we will talk a little bit about AI ads as well. So how can you manage your Google ads campaigns? Or sorry, not manage, maximize your Google ads campaigns. That is the main goal that we try to strive on with Google ads. We want to make sure that your money is going to be used the best possible way. And there's a lot of little things that you can do in Google Ads to ensure that that is happening. So the first thing is you want to build your ads for conversion. using keywords and audiences. So you can actually import lists of audiences that help Google know these are the type of people to target. You can make sure that you're using the right keywords, which might change, might be slightly different than your website depending on what you want to, where you want to show up in Google Ads. For example, maybe one of your main keywords that you focus on your website is like a really high cost per click and you can't compete with other people in that keyword, then go and find other impactful keywords that maybe is a lower cost per click or has less competition that you can hopefully go in with your budget and own that keyword. Run your ads consistently. That way guests can see you over time and keep, as they're doing their search, they'll keep seeing your brand up towards the top or under the AI overview and really start to recognize who you are, which makes it more likely for them to click on you when they're ready to go that route. Align your paid ads with your organic content and messaging. This is important. If you have messaging on your Google ad, I click on it and I go to a site that doesn't talk anything about that, then it's going to be confusing as a user to understand if I even went to the right place or what you offer if they're different. So reinforce what you're talking about in your Google ad on the landing pages that you're sending them to. And then measure your success, not just by conversions and immediate sales, but also visibility and familiarity. I've realized the longer I've been in this industry that it's hard to always track back to Google Ads because it may be something that someone just saw in a Google search and they never clicked on it. But they came back, and because they saw that brand, they end up clicking on your website later or navigating to you somehow. Same with social. And so don't just focus on the conversion, although that is super important. So don't just be like, well, I have a low conversion, but people are probably seeing it. Use them both together to really understand and test. Don't just put your ad out there and leave it alone, but test different things to see what difference you can make. And then the last two things here is having a good budget and optimizing your ad campaigns. So having a good ads budget is different for everyone. Google ads, they allow you to see like how well your budget is doing. So you can see in this example, there's a lot of their campaigns that are limited by the budget that is set. This doesn't always necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Maybe that's the budget you want and you're getting a good conversion rate, you're getting your return that you want. But I would suggest testing that budget and if you can increase it and see if that helps your conversions or if it reduces your conversions. Um, More money doesn't always mean better results, but it's definitely worth testing to see if it does. Brandon is often, our CEO, is often known for saying there in marketing, there really shouldn't be a budget because if I can generate, say, $10 for every dollar spent, then wouldn't I want to spend more dollars to generate more money? So you do that by testing. Don't just go and throw a bunch of money in and hope it works, but start testing it and seeing what works and what doesn't. And then the last thing here is your optimization score. So here you can see these aren't that great in this example. 50% is not the best optimization score. If you click that link there, you see this other screen here that is Google Ads basically giving you ideas, recommendations on what you can do to improve your ad. And I want to emphasize these are recommendations. Sometimes they're great, other times it might not be the best thing for you to do. So don't just go and apply them all. Make sure you understand what they're saying, make sure you understand what the implications are and test them. Um excuse me. One thing I want to point out here is dynamic site links. In my opinion, this is a great recommendation here because of what it does to the real estate that you have on Google Ads. So when someone searches your website, this is an example of someone using site links. Their real estate now is taking up double what a single ad takes. Much more impactful, right? It's like if you're driving down the highway and you see a McDonald's sign, they're usually pretty big, but if you saw like a tiny little Burger King sign, you probably wouldn't even recognize it as much and just see the McDonald's sign. So the more impact you can make The more space you can take up in search is usually always going to be a good thing. So site links, having your ratings, good imagery, good titles optimized so that you can succeed is going to be super helpful. And then this is an example of one of our clients, Virgin Island Eco Tours again, of a really good, solid Google Ads campaign. So you can see here they've spent almost $32,000, and they've gotten almost $32,000, sorry, in bookings, and they've only spent about $3,000. So that's 1,000% return on ad spend, which is incredible. And they're pushing the right buttons here. They're getting the right type of people to click on their ads and to book. They have a really low conversion rate of 1.29%, but to me, that doesn't matter if the return on ad spend is super good. What that tells me is there's probably things we can optimize to make that conversion rate better, which just will hopefully make everything increase here as well. So in this case, everything's going up, cost per conversion is going down. This is like an ideal state of what you want to see in a Google Ads campaign.
Yep. Real quick, before we go on to AI ads, Greg, Virgin Islands doesn't just do paid ads, right? Yes, their paid ads are very successful, but they have a really strong SEO foundation from the Resmark web team. They're doing incredible on social media, emails, all of that, right? So that it just amplifies the results of what you just saw on that last slide.
Yeah, and I'm still sold that the more you do with Google, the more they just promote your stuff, even if you're not paying as much. Like, I'm not saying this is fact. I just believe it that that's how they kind of interact with all their products together. The last thing here is ChatGPT paid ads and just AI ads in general. This is coming. ChatGPT just announced it like a week or two ago. They're starting to test paid ads in AI search. So be ready for that because it's going to be a time where you might be able to get in on some keywords at an extremely low price because the competition isn't there yet. So don't forget about paid ads in AI.
Before we talk about social media, I just wanted to say one more thing about paid ads is we work with a lot of tour operators who are very successful who don't do paid ads. So paid ads don't need to be a part of your strategy to be successful. The reason I say that is because paid ads are very expensive. Yeah, if they're ran correctly and you have everything else dialed in, you'll get a good ROI, but just have the way I like to say it is, do you have everything else in place? What are your revenue goals? What else do you have in place to help you get to those goals, and what gap do you need to fill? And maybe you fill that gap with paid ads. Okay, social media, my favorite. All right, so when guests see you regularly on social, booking later feels familiar instead of risky. So I'm going to briefly go over the bullets, but I want to tell a story. So remember, we're still part of the dreaming stage right now. I did a safari back in September, and when I got back from that safari, now my husband is like an amateur photographer, I guess you could say. When we got back from that safari, we were like, oh, how are we ever going to top that? Like, how are we going to top photos of lions and zebras and giraffes and whatnot? And so we're back at home, wanting to plan our next trip. And on social media, we start scrolling and we see these beautiful lynx and these beautiful felines. I love cats, so I love wild cats. We just see these photos and videos coming up on social media. And really, we start getting in our head, wow, I would love to see that cat. Little did we know that cat is only 9 hours away, the Iberian lynx located in Spain. So we're seeing these professional photographers come up on our social media, mainly Instagram is what we're on. And we're like, we want to take photos of that. And then we start seeing tour operators. So at this phase, we didn't even think we would do a tour like this because we didn't know it existed, but social media put it in front of our heads. So now we said, we have to do this. Now I'm not doing it. I'm staying home to watch my cats, but my husband is going in June to go see the Iberian lynx. And I live in France, so it's only like a 9-hour drive away. But That's the importance of social media, especially for people who don't even know that tour exists. So post consistently on platforms your guests already use. So if your ideal guests on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, you need to be there. Absolutely. If they're not on, you don't need to waste time on X if they're not on X. Like, be resourceful with your time. Share short videos showing the experience, the guides, the environment. Post real moments from tours, not polished marketing content. So I'm just trying to give you some ideas of content to post. You guys already know this. We are in an industry where it is easy for us to get really good content. If that's a landscape, if that's you, if that's your team, if that's the tour itself, not every industry is like that. We already have that. We can post really good content. And it doesn't necessarily have to be polished marketing content. Now that has its place. Hiring a professional photographer, videographer, great for paid ads, great for some organic social media posts here and there, but people want to resonate with authenticity. So post real photos, content, answer common questions, highlight reviews, guest reactions, behind the scenes content. The reason I wanted to hit on this is because so often we see tour operators just posting to post, and it's not often. It's just here and there. It's just an afterthought. They don't have a process in place. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but social media, in my opinion, is like the biggest bang for your buck. If you spend an hour a day or a few hours a week and post, now it has to be valuable content. I'm not saying just post to post, but if you post content, you're getting more eyeballs on your brand. And if that messaging is consistent from the emails people receive or from your website or from that Facebook ad or anything, it is just going to click eventually. So ask yourself, do you have a process for social media right now, or is it an afterthought? Another quick note is we want to be efficient, right? As tour operators, business owners, our time is scarce. We are all over the place. And social media might be an afterthought right now. And I'm not docking you for that. So we want to use things like scheduling tools and ways to make our life more efficient. But I'm going to tell you something. Scheduling tools are great. I use them. I'm going to raise my hand because I absolutely use them. They make my life really easy. But as soon as you start posting outside of the platforms, as soon as you're outside of Instagram or outside of YouTube, the algorithm will not pick you up as much. So if you want to get more views, create more awareness, actually spend some time editing, doing everything within the platforms themselves. Just a little tip for you. And then there's paid social media. So I'm really talking about like meta ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. You could also run TikTok, YouTube ads. But do your social media ads show what the experience is actually feels like, or are you just selling them? So in social media, paid, we could run different types of campaigns for different and different objectives. But we have to remember, people are not scrolling on social media looking to buy a tour, most likely. They're scrolling because they want to let loose. They just want to enjoy some time relaxing, and then they see some interesting content. So most of our content needs to be focused on providing value, even the paid side. So when we are running paid ads, we have to think about it as top of funnel. So creating brand awareness. We have to run ads that are really going to do that. And then as we bring people down the funnel, we could then start to sell them. So use Facebook and Instagram to introduce your brands to travelers researching. Again, they might not have a clue who you are, but you're getting in front of them over and over again with valuable content. Run YouTube ads with short experience videos to reach guests actively watching trip and tour content. That's where that polished marketing content can come into place. You can absolutely test TikTok ads with simple, real videos from guides or guests to introduce your experience, and promote high-performing organic content instead of direct booking offers. One of the things we do for a couple clients is every week, or we do it bi-weekly actually, is we see what their highest performing organic post was of the week, and then we boost that. So we don't boost it within Instagram, we boost it within the Meta platform because we could target a little bit better in the actual like Meta platform. So we run different campaigns with different objectives. So here you can see two different campaigns. We're running a lead generation campaign. So that lead generation campaign, those people already know the business. They've been on the website. They're in our email list. Somehow they know who Four Season Guide is. And then we also run for this client those boosted campaigns where we're just trying to get eyeballs on the brand. So we can run different types of ads, and depending on the objective, kind of helps us decide what kind of budget we want to put towards those ads. Number 5, video.
Yeah, before we move on to video, one thing I want to emphasize that's heavily important in social, it's important in video and everything really, but especially social, is that ideal customer profile. If you really know your customer and you can speak to the customer and their needs, their wants, their hierarchy of needs, then it's going to resonate that much more. My wife gets influenced like crazy on social media, whereas I don't. But when I see an ad that is like targeted to the way I think, I click on it like 99% of the time. And so understanding how your people are talking and thinking and researching is going to help immensely so that they actually click on it. All right, so going into video, this is probably one that seems extremely stressful and tricky. Um, Most people are not like videographers. We're not expert at it, but there's so many ways, especially with all of our phones being as awesome as they are now, that we can capture amazing videos and utilize them to boost our trips, to invite people researching to dig deeper and really understand what it is you offer. So ideally you're going to have some videos that are, professionally done. They are really polished, they look amazing, they tell your story very well, but don't be afraid of using user generated content. So encourage your guests to film. Obviously there's certain times where you might not want them to film, or like if you're going on a rural place in the middle of nowhere like the Grand Canyon. When I went on the Grand Canyon trip a few years ago, like your phone just didn't work there, so no one had their phones out. Now with Starlink, people are wanting to pull them out a little bit more, and you don't want the phones to like ruin the trip for everyone, right? If everyone's on their phone, but encourage them to share any footage that they get with you so that you can use it on your website, use it in social, use it wherever possible. Create those videos that tell the story, but make sure they're tapping into the five senses, into that ideal customer profile. Help them feel like they're there by watching your video. And then feature your guides. Your guides, if you're doing something that has a lot of guides or guides that are just like really animated, utilize them. Don't be afraid to show that part of your business because that's who is going to spend the most time with your customer. And if they love your guide from the first time they see them in a video, they're going to love them most likely in person, and it's going to amplify that trip even more. And then just use your videos everywhere. Don't be afraid to post them all over the place. Send them in emails. Remind people that what you do is awesome and that they're going to come and love what you do. So some examples of this and statistics is this is a section on Orange Torpedo Trips website where they're showing user generated content right there, right in the section where there's other reviews and things as well. So you're able to click on them. They're not high quality. They're not the best, videography per se, but they're real. And it's like what I would see if my friend sent me a video to get me excited about going on a trip. So user generated content drives 28% higher engagement and up to 4x higher click through rate than just branded content. So people want to be sold, but they also want to be sold by their peers and not just you as a business. And then this example here is showing some YouTube pages that have just really great videos. So the Safari Souls tours, they have this like series where they're just doing really polished, well done videos to help you understand what you're going to experience there. And then the example on the left, the main days or 5 days in the main Salmon River is a great thumbnail for one because it's telling you like, hey, this video is going to probably walk me through what to expect. And so having those type of videos that's really telling people what to expect, answering questions or concerns or addressing fears that they might have in those videos is going to be awesome. So, like I mentioned before, post everywhere. Social media posts or videos on social media get 48% more views than those social posts that don't have videos. So, when you're posting, include videos. And to emphasize what Nikki was talking about with social, like don't be afraid to post often. The algorithms are not going to, if you post multiple times a day or every day, they're not just going to flood people with all your content all the time, but the algorithm's going to show videos that you may have posted a year and a half ago just based off what they're searching. So what you post today and tomorrow might be something that someone sees in 3 months, but it influences them to actually buy in that moment. So don't be afraid to post a lot.
Before we go on to number 6, real quick, I definitely see a gap in tour operators posting on YouTube. Not necessarily shorts, because we know we could repurpose our reels that we're posting on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube shorts, but actual video. Remember, YouTube is a search engine. So people, this is maybe coming out of the dreaming phase, but let's say they booked your tour. They're excited. They want to go to YouTube and find information about safaris. That's how I found Safari Souls. So that's a safari company I went with, but I didn't find them from YouTube. But after I booked, I found this channel, and I was even more excited. So just having a good YouTube presence is really important. And then before we go on, we had a good question come in. Greg, I don't know if you have thoughts. I have a couple, but do you have a suggestion to get more user generated content or just guests to share? For me, I think the biggest thing is asking. So often we don't ask, and you don't get what you don't ask for. It's the same as reviews. So I remember when I was hiking Kilimanjaro, the tour guide saw that I was like filming everything, and he brought up so many times how much of an impact it would be if I gave the owner the footage. And I actually did. I sent him a hard drive, a thumbnail of all the footage once I went through it and edited. And so you don't get what you don't ask for. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is just simply ask. And then also ask to be tagged. Are you following your customers on Instagram, Facebook? Are your guides following? That might be a little weird. I don't know. I've had guides follow me on Instagram and whatnot and send me DMs like, oh, tag me in that photo, or so that's another way that you could do it. Greg, do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, asking is great, but you can also incentivize them. Run a campaign to see if it works and incentivize them with a discount on a follow up trip or even maybe a discount on their current trip or some swag, whatever it might be. But incentives go a long way with a lot of people as well.
There's a few tools out there too that make it really simple to get the video from them. I can't remember exactly how it works or what it's called, but I know there's some tour operator related focused tools that allow you to easily get the content from the guests. Maybe it's scanning a QR code before they leave. I'm not exactly sure, but look into those as well.
Yeah, one last
Cool.
thing that I've had happen after a trip is they send out a link saying, "Hey, share your videos with everyone else on your trip," right? And if you have in your waiver that like, "Hey, we can utilize this content," or maybe you just explicitly tell them
Yeah.
that as well, like, "Hey, if you upload that, we're gonna use it. That's okay," or whatever. That's
Yeah.
a great way to get it as well. Because I was like on my trip, and this person next to me was taking something. I was like, "Oh, you need to send that to me because that's gonna be awesome." Whereas I didn't get that footage, and so it just really is a good way to get
That's
them
good.
excited about it as well, and share videos with each other, but also video that hopefully you can use on your website
That's a
or
good idea.
social.
Okay, I got one more. One more for you. Photo competition. One of our clients, Four Season Guides, we host an annual photo competition and they could upload videos as well. So we've created a system where guests can upload all their photos, all their footage. Now it's not like time sensitive, so they're not getting that content right after that tour, but they're getting it at the end of the year. And then he does, I can't, Katja's our client success manager. She might be able to confirm in the chat, but I think they get like 50% off on the tour or something along those lines. And we last year had like thousands of photos and videos that we were able to put on the website because of that. It was incredible. Okay, no more ideas. I think that was good. All right, number 6, referrals and print. So I think that a lot of us, our main source of leads comes from referrals. Most of us are going to have a really good referral process or program or something along the lines. And that's where the majority of our clients are coming from, because you are creating raving fans, and those raving fans are telling their friends and family, and they're so excited. They had the time of their life on that day tour or multi-day tour, and that is how it gets spread. If that's not your number one lead source, drop something in the chat. But usually that's what we hear. Referrals is number one. So then let's talk direct and print. So how many of you think direct mail is outdated or doesn't work anymore? You could think it to yourself, or you could drop it in the chat. About 50% of tour operators I talk to do not like print. They've done it in the past. They did it in the early 2000s or whenever, and it just doesn't work anymore. And then the other half absolutely love it. It is very successful for them. So I'm curious to get your thoughts. Does it work for you? Have you tried it? Here's some quick stats to get you thinking. Direct mail response rates average 4.4%. That is so much higher than email or any other response rate. 70% of consumers say mail feels more personal and trustworthy. I definitely think it provides a lot of trust. Over 50% of recipients visit a website after receiving direct mail, and you can, on your direct mail, you have QR codes and tracking numbers or whatever you need to do so that you can track the success of that campaign. But that's really important. So I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on direct mail, print. Western River has a pretty good strategy where they do send some direct mail, but most of it is their campaign on their landing page. So basically they could opt in to choose if they want an online catalog or a printed catalog. And I believe that's completely free. Greg, can you confirm that? It's shipping, all of that. They just get sent the catalog, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so that's a really cool option for guests to choose what they want. All right. And last, OTAs and resellers.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. One thing I want to say on print is there's this like thing happening right now with Gen Z where I don't know if everyone's noticed, but they're starting to like want to revert back to a world with less technology.
Mm-hmm.
There's in schools and stuff, more and more people are wanting, or at least talking about going back to like a flip phone. Or here in Utah, they're restricting phone usage in schools, and the number of teens in high school that are saying how beneficial that is. Like I've heard them also talk about other avenues of media. And so as they become a little bit older and are the ones buying these trips, print might work really well for them. So something that wasn't working for my generation, like I personally, print doesn't work for me, but just because it doesn't work for maybe this generation of millennials or whatever, it might be something that works. So don't be afraid to test it if you have that budget for it. If other things are working really well, then keep pushing those levers as well. All right, so going into OTA and resellers, and we're getting close to time, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but hopefully you're utilizing OTAs and resellers. They are extremely important in this industry. We all know the love-hate relationship probably that we all have with OTAs. They take a big percentage of our trips, but they also get our trips out there, give us that opportunity to be found and to, you know, have people love our business so that they come back again. So don't be afraid to use them, but at the same time, make sure that your website and everything else we're talking about is just honed in so that when people find your business, they fall in love with your business and choose to go through your website versus an OTA just because it's an easier booking platform or an easier layout. And then make sure that the information you have on those websites or that your resellers are offering is what you want it to say. Have it, make sure it has great images, make sure it has great content that's not just selling the trip, but selling your brand as well, since you can't really sell your brand on Viator as easily. So those are just some easy things that you can do with OTAs to make sure that you're winning in the OTA race as well and with your resellers. Some examples of this and a stat is this is fresh off the press from Arrival. They do their global operator landscape study, and in 2025, they found that OTAs now accounted for 37% of online bookings, which is extremely high, and it's probably just going to keep going up. They have the money to spend on ads, as you can see. In this case, they're dominating the sponsored results, and they're up at the top or dominating the organic results as well. So this has been going on for a while. We all know this, but with AI ads and AI search, they're going to potentially overtake that industry as well, depending on how AI search and ads really work together. I think that where you as a business can win in AI ads and AI search is having just a really stellar presence online because you can tell a story and answer questions differently that OTAs can't, that hopefully will come through AI because it's more of a contextual answer versus something that, TripAdvisor might not be able to address as easily with their platform.
Awesome. All right, everybody. I want to conclude by just re-emphasizing that it's a system. This is not random marketing. I think the first thing is that we said you need to dial in your ICP. Who is your ideal customer so that all of this marketing, all of these opportunities that we're putting in front of a person is the right person we're trying to get in front of. There's this concept of being omnipresent, and I love that concept, but being omnipresent is about being everywhere all the time in front of your ideal customer. So that's where it comes down to. You need to know who that is. And if you don't, I don't think I reviewed this with you guys yet, but you need to create that ICP. We did a workshop last summer where we broke down how to create that exactly. You need to look at all your reviews. You need to capture your Google Analytics and feed it into AI. So if you haven't done that, shoot me an email. You'll see that on the next slide, and I'll get you over that document, how to create your ICP. But dreaming works when channels support each other. Dreaming works when channels support each other. Sorry, I had to reread that. Visibility compounds when messaging is consistent across platforms. We do not want a message that's saying one thing about your brand and then a message here that's saying something else. We need to provide cohesiveness. You don't need to be everywhere. You just need to be in the right places. So yes, you need to be everywhere where your ideal customer is. Intentional systems outperform scattered effort. So be intentional about every little thing that you do. Don't just throw the spaghetti at the wall and hope that it sticks. You need to be intentional. You need to have a plan in place, and it will return. So it will be successful. Does anybody have questions, Greg? Is there anything that you would like to add? And as if anybody has questions or anybody's thinking of anything, here's my contact information. This QR code will book a call with us. And I'm going to plug in something I'm super excited about. Greg and I just started a podcast last week. It's called the Tour Operator Growth Podcast. So we really break down the growth engine, but we get very granular on each and everything. So we get granular on SEO, we get granular on social media rather than 1 hour on it all. So tune in, please. I hope you find it valuable, as I hope you find these webinars valuable, and I hope you continue to come. But our next webinar is going to be on the planning stage, and that's on February 22nd. So we're really excited about that. Anybody have
Now, one
questions?
one last thing, the QR code here is going to take you to a growth assessment survey.
That should be this one.
Oh, that's
Right?
this one. Sorry, there's two.
You're getting ahead of me, Greg.
Sorry. Well, the growth assessment survey has 25 questions. There's 5 questions for each of the 5 stages. And our podcast, we're planning to go through every single one of those questions week by week and talk about them, address issues. So if you have like questions, concerns about these as you take this assessment, like shoot them over to us to help inform us on the podcast so that we can, even have better content to address what our users, you guys, are interested in knowing.
Absolutely. We want to just keep providing value, and we need to improve. And so please feel free to give us your feedback as well on the webinar, on the podcast, on anything and everything. We're here, and we're here to help you grow, whether you're a client or not. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.